when you start using like a sable for the first time and you experience a brush that's got a fine point on it, but also it's got a good belly, so it will hold lots of paint, but that paint goes exactly where you want it to go. That is a game changer. At least it certainly was for me.
I don't want to use it, so I break it, or if it, I leave paint in it and it dry. Oh no,
I'm saving that.
Yeah, I'll save that for a special model, and then it just sits there for years and never gets touched.
Well, there's no point having a Porsche if you don't drive it. And so we wanted to make it so that the price point didn't deter you from wanting to actually use the brushes on a daily basis for what you wanted to use them for.
No washing it, just whack it straight on there. Loves it. It loves the abuse, and then it gets washed after every session.
Someone's going to report you.
Paintbrush abuse.
Partly what you're doing in a way of bringing affordable, high quality brushes is kind of taking down that gatekeeping and saying, well, actually, if you want to age highlight, you don't need a £17 brush.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Sprue Goons podcast with me, Dickie, Darren, and this week in this episode we've got two guests, Webb and Morty, aka Orange Brushes.
Hi guys.
Hello.
So in true fashion, we'll start with hobby nonsense and
take a back seat on this one personally, but
and we sort of hand over to our guests and see what they've been up to in the last few weeks.
Morty, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So for me, the main part of the hobbying recently was getting ready for Iron Skull. So it was finishing off my entry, which was the Harbinger of Decay. He was like sort of the main entry that I was really working towards up until the deadline. And then since then, I've kind of had not like a break as such, but just a minute to recharge. And then I've now bought a Slan Star Seer. So he's the next big project. So I've got some bits that I'm just practicing on at the moment, trying to figure a few things out. I don't know if it will come up very well. Sorry, the dog's walking around.
That's fine.
I've got this idea of doing him like bright orange.
Cool.
To just be like really eye catching. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Nice. So is everything orange?
No. Well,
the
other thing I've been playing around with is like a marble effect. So I've got this idea to make the throne itself like this deep dark marble with like greenish blue tones in it, and then the idea being that the complementary opposites then draw the viewer's eye back to the giant frog in the chair. Because part of the feedback that I got at Iron Skull, which was really good, was you need to work on how you're drawing the viewer's eye to the focal point of the model. And so I've really tried to take that on board, and I'm trying to think of that really carefully when I'm planning the next project.
Nice. How about you, Webb?
Well, I've come back to the hobby after a period of absence, like about 3 years. I haven't painted anything, and then post Iron Skull, I kind of like. It was really nice for me to talk to loads of people and ask them what they were painting. And I bought myself just the bog standard Tyranids, Terminators starter kit, just to get back into hobby. Because I had loads and loads and loads of models before, loads and loads of Space Marines, an entire Raven Guard army, which I then repainted into elements of the periodic table, including their oxidized colours, which took me ages. I then sold it all because I had real PTSD after the cat knocked it all off the shelf. And then I was like, I'm going to sell it all. And I sold everything, absolutely every model I had. So I've been painting last couple of weeks, just some sort of tabletop ready Tyranids. And last night I finished off the Terminator Lieutenant. There he is. I'm going for Space Wolves because I've painted Ultramarines, Raven Guards, Blood Angels, and I thought Space Wolves are very much on vogue, aren't they? I like the colours, I like the colour balance. They work really well with the oranges and the yellows and the red. I don't know if it's focused there. But I'm not going like Morty's level of painting. I'm very much like dry brush, highlights, little bits of colour, and then done, move on to the next model. So the idea is that they're going to have them tabletop ready to play games again. That's the plan anyway.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, very nice. So I haven't done sort of huge amounts of painting, but this month has been crazy for shows and things. So obviously on the last episode we had Dave on, who was going to the expo, and it was kind of probably a week away.
Yeah.
So yeah, went to the expo with Ollie, Blackheart Minis, and Toby Torhammer. Yeah, had an absolutely amazing time. All 4 days at the expo. Yeah, massive post-show blues after that. And then at the expo, George from C Studios convinced me to put something into Iron Skull. So then I had a week of trying to touch up a model I'd already started working on, which led to me sort of almost having a mental breakdown by Wednesday. Yeah, I give myself a lot to do, and but yeah, went to Iron Skull. Obviously, kind of met you guys properly, and yeah, Iron Skull was really cool, and it has made me want to put something in next year, and obviously put a bit more thought into it and more time. But yeah, so. But I have been working on something. So at Iron Skull, I picked up your sort of, would you call it a bust, I guess, but it's the orange brushes head. And yeah, I have painted it as close as I can to the style of your logo. And it's
Oh, that's so cool.
That's superb. It's awesome. Neither of us have painted it yet. So that's amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, you were threatening to paint the mohawk all different colours for the ends of the brushes, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you really kind of captured the style and the logo itself. That's really cool. That's translated really well.
Yeah, I'll share a video. I've got some pictures and videos. So yeah, I'll share one and yeah, tag you guys, and yeah, we're sort of it's partly because we are going to have you as a sponsor on the podcast following on. So yeah, thank you guys. And yeah, that the head will be in shot for the other episodes. So
good.
But yeah, I really enjoyed painting it. Actually, it's a style that I've sort of wanted to try for a long time, and it really suited it. The drawbacks of trying to get really smooth coats is every colour is sort of 20 layers. So yeah, it took a really long time. But yeah, it was worth it in the end.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'm so pleased. It looks really good. It's funny because we've had them for I think a couple of months. We've had them all. I've got them sat in my desk. We've got a giant one as well, but neither of us have even thought to paint them. Loads of people have bought them, and loads of people have. No one's shown us. That's the first one we've actually seen painted so far. It's really good, really exciting. I do feel a bit bad that Sean and I haven't painted one each yet.
It's in the pile of potential.
Yeah, that's all right. It take you in this one, so yeah, you don't
need
to paint it.
Which is still credit. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's painted with your brushes, of course. So. Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, my hobby nonsense, it's non-existent. It's been absolutely embarrassing. Really, the past month for me, I basically was cut. Didn't know if I'd be making it to the expo because I was moving.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally like, what was it, like 2 days before? I can't remember what it was, but it literally, you're moving. So I've missed the expo. I've missed Iron Skull.
Oh no!
I haven't done any hobby. It's been absolutely awful. So it's a bit of a drought for me at the moment. But
are you still setting up in the new house?
Sorry? Are
you setting up in the new house now?
Yes, yeah. So I've literally, yesterday, day before, I've literally just finished one of the most important parts of the move. Don't worry about the rest. There's still things in boxes, but as long as I've got the desk set up and the paint, so hopefully, as of next week, next time we record something, I might actually have something to show. But at the moment, it's been a bit woeful. So I've been living through Darren recently with the hobby. Look at this I've seen. Look at these people I've met, and I'm at home crying, painting walls, and wishing I was anywhere else. But yeah, so unfortunately that's all I've got to bring to the table. this episode, nothing. So.
More nonsense, less hobby.
Yeah, pretty much complete nonsense.
Right, yeah. Let's get into the meat of the episode.
Yep.
Okay, so time to meet the guys behind Orange Brushes. So I think sort of to start, if you could sort of just explain what is Orange Brushes. I know that's a very broad question, but yeah, if you could take us through it.
Yeah, so we decided to set up Orange Brushes now a year ago, and isn't well 2 years ago really, because it took us a year to actually do anything really about it. We had the idea. So Webb and I both work together, and we've been talking about how isn't it frustrating that it seems that you can't get quality sable hair brushes at an affordable price. There's a friendly local gaming store that we both attended that for a little while had these brushes that nobody could pronounce the name of, but they were blue. And so people would go in and they'd be like, "Oh, have you got the blue ones, the blue ones, the blue ones?" And so when we were talking about what we wanted to do and the idea for the brush company and kind of going, "Yeah, but what are we going to do?" We said, "Well, why don't we decide, like, why don't we call them whatever the color is that they are and have that as a point of difference." I originally wanted to make them British Racing Green, but Webb said no. So we compromised and scrapped that idea, and instead went for orange. So part of that being that most paintbrushes are white, black, or burgundy, and so what we wanted was something that, if you imagine your friendly local hobby shop, what's something that's going to stand out and what's going to really grab somebody's attention from across the room. And we thought, well, orange is going to be the perfect color to do that. Plus, Adam's colorblind, so we, we needed something that you could see. So we settled on orange, and then we batted back and forth for a little bit and thought, well, are they going to be the orange ones or what are they going to be? And eventually we just settled on Orange Brushes. And one of the things that we desperately wanted from the outset was to have the tips at the end different colors, so that when they're on your painting desk, we want these to be your workhorses. We want you to be using these all the time. And so having that system in place meant that when your brushes are sprayed out on your desk, you can grab the one that you want and start working straight away. And the other thing that we were conscious of at the outset was that we've both owned lots of the household names of other sable brushes and manufacturers. And what we both found was that, despite owning them, they'd arrive and they'd be these sort of like beautiful objects and these, sacred tools, but you'd never use them. And we kind of likened it to, well, there's no point having a Porsche if you don't drive it. And so we wanted to make it so that the price point didn't deter you from wanting to actually use the brushes on a daily basis for what you wanted to use them for. Like I've got some and they're still sat in their package because I'm just like, must not open them, must not put miles on them, which is it's crazy.
That's such a good point. You think about the cost of some of the brushes and you think, oh, that's cost me £16-17, whatever. And you're like, I don't want to use it, so I break it, or if it, I leave paint in it and it dry. Oh no,
I'm saving that.
Yeah, I'll save that for a special model, and then it just sits there for years and never gets touched. That's such a good point.
So we initially planned it. We wrote our specification, and had them manufactured. So initially we started just with the 00 up to the size 1, so the green, the yellow, and the red, and then we created the Instagram, posted it, and I think initially we both were kind of like, we're just going to end up with loads of brushes forever, aren't we? We've just bought a lifetime supply of brushes, and it started to take off pretty quickly, like faster than either of us thought was going to happen. And it seemed like the community really started getting behind it, which was really exciting. And they were saying to us, "All right, these are great. When are you going to get some bigger ones? When's the next load?" And we were like, "Okay, we'll do that. We'll get a 2 and a 3." And then the same thing happened, and we started working and collaborating with some of the other accounts on Instagram. So people like Lasshammer was one of the first people that we started working with. And then people were telling us they need dry brushes. We were like, "Yep, okay, we'll do some dry brushes." And we've just followed what the community have been asking us for and what our customer base has been telling us that they need. and then just staying with that core value of trying to deliver quality at an affordable price.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it's a great thing that you're doing, and I love the brand as well. Like I work in marketing, so yeah, I'm kind of I love it when I see a good brand. But yeah, the things behind it as well, and always having a USP. Obviously, that's important, but it's the being able to see what the size is.
By the colour.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's
I absolutely
genius.
love that idea. Just need the red one.
The amount of times I get, I've got a.
Which one is it? You're pulling it up to look at the number on the side of the brush.
Yeah, I just go like this and kind of get a bunch. But right, okay, where's my one? They've probably only got a couple, but yeah,
simple idea. It's such a. Why has no one done it before?
Yeah. Also, my favourite size is a 1, and my favourite colour is red. So you knew.
There we go. Yeah, I think the red is the one that we sell out of the most, and it's the one that has been great to us, but it's also caused us the most issues because it exists in a couple of the sets. It means that if we sell out of the red brushes, then functionally it takes everything else out with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a real kind of golden child for us. The size 1 and the red. It's been great.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, it's I thought it would be good to kind of get to know you guys as well. So we have a standard question that we ask everyone, which is how you got into the hobby. So yeah, do you wanna start, Morty, with how you got into the hobby?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the origin story. So I've been involved in and aware of Warhammer for such a long time. So I think I was trying to think earlier. I think it was like year 4 or year 5 at primary school that I first became aware of it. And near where I lived, there was the town centre, and there was Games Workshop. So I just remember walking past it loads and loads of times with my mum, and seeing the models in the display cases, and also seeing all the people kind of inside, and just being like, what is this? Because this seat feels like something that I need, and just sort of being young and not really knowing how to go in or how to approach or anything like that. It just took me a little while, but then it turned out that a very dear friend of mine at primary school, his dad was into it. And so he'd built a whole kind of like gaming setup in the loft, and they played Warhammer Fantasy, and I was just like, yeah, I need this is what I need in my life. So my mum was very, very supportive of it. She took me to the Games Workshop. We got the starter set, and then started kind of going along to the Sunday sessions to learn to play back when they did that. And that was great fun. Always enjoyed the painting element of it. I had a few friends that were into it as well, so we'd do sleepovers and play what we thought we were playing Warhammer. We were moving around and stuff died, and it's kind of just been in the background of my life since then, really. Like everybody, I had the break. So when you get into secondary school and it's no longer cool and exciting and there's other things, and then you pick it back up again, or I did at uni, which is also where I met a few friends like Thomas Elliott, and we it's stayed with me ever since. So I've just always kind of been playing and painting, and I don't really see it going anywhere.
And are you a painter first or a gamer first?
Well, so my relationship with the hobby has changed and had to adapt recently. So both Webb and I work full time, as well as run Orange Brushes. I've got 2 lovely young kids, and another kind of hobby that I try to take somewhat seriously. So I'm very time poor, and so I was playing and painting, and therefore I was kind of painting because I was playing. Because my gaming group is very good at turning up with painted miniatures, and they're very good at encouraging, to put it nicely, one another to paint the miniatures. So there's just kind of like a standard sort of expectation that people turn up with painted minis within the group, and it's done in a nurturing and caring way. But I was just finding that I just didn't have time in my life for both. And so I kind of went, well, what do I want to do and what do I get the most joy out of? And that was painting. So I've kind of lent into painting now. And then the law wise, I tend to listen to like audiobooks in the background or like when I'm driving. So that's mainly it now for me. It's mainly painting at the moment.
Yeah. So, I mean, probably similar to us.
Yeah, very similar. But I have that awful thing where I have to paint something I'm going to use. If I'm not going to use it, I kind of struggle to get the motivation to paint it, which annoys me. I'd rather be able to just paint for the sake of painting. But if I think, it's just going to sit in the cabinet and never be touched, I can't be bothered.
Yeah,
which I hate.
It was only up until recently that transition happened for me. Because like for quite a while, I was like, well, I'm not playing, I'm not painting. I'm barely, doing anything with this. And it's something that brings me so much joy. And I had that challenge in my mind where I couldn't figure out how to justify the time to myself.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, yeah, but don't you just like enjoy it? So can't you just do it because you love doing it?
Yeah.
And then painting just became its kind of own challenge in a way. It was like, I just want to spend as much time as I can doing this to the best of my ability and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Now I feel stupid.
How about you, Webb? How did you get into the hobby?
I think my origin story is pretty similar. I was trying to work this out the other day. So I'm pretty sure I must have had my first like Warhammer set for a birthday or Christmas or something at primary school. I'm 41, so it would have been 30 years ago, I reckon. Second edition box set, with the beautiful old hammer like that. Gives me a real nostalgia for looking at those now. I remember getting that box set with the little Gretchens or whatever they're called, the ones that aren't orcs but they carry a massive gun, very, very static models, very static poses. I remember being really excited about painting them and then painting particularly the tanks because I was very much a model builder as a kid, like lots of airfix models, like air and stuff like that. And then a friend showed me his dropship from Aliens that he painted, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then that kind of lent me towards the sci-fi aspect, I think, of 40k. And I must have played tabletop games at secondary school. So I remember taking models to school to a Warhammer club and playing in the science lab throughout the first year 7 and 8, I guess, maybe year 9 of secondary school. And then I think I didn't touch it for a long, long, long time until probably COVID, when we were all sat at home with nothing to do. And you're like, let's just get this box of old Warhammer out. Oh, I might as well start painting it again. Oh, I might as well, spend all of this money because I'm not going out anymore on all of the plastic I can possibly purchase. Oh, I never bothered. Now I've got adult money. I'll just buy as much as I can. I'll build a whole army. And then I've done that army. Let's build another army. And then I went down the rabbit hole of buying as many metal dreadnoughts as I could find until I ended up with 7. Each one different. And then I was like, I'll buy a 3D printer and then I'll make custom parts for my dreadnoughts. And then I'll have a dreadnought army. And everyone's like, you can't play this on tabletop. It's like, to me, it didn't matter. I was quite happy to have this beautiful metal dreadnought army because I remember I still had my first painted metal dreadnought from when I must have been 11 or 12 that I remember buying. And I was like, right, I'm going to just buy as many of these as I can and see how many I can build and have a dreadnought army. That was a really fun experience. And then again, I sold them all. They sold for an absurd amount of money. I couldn't believe that people were willing to pay for, something you can't use on the tabletop particularly well, but is a nice model. But they're also incredibly difficult to paint because they're all metal. You breathe on them and the paint falls off. And then I kind of I painted a lot of orcs for a long time as well. With never the idea of having an army. I really enjoy painting orcs, which is weird because I don't really like fantasy as a genre, but I really like painting orcs, and I particularly I had some sort of really pale orcs I did, and then I did some really dark green ones, and I was going into subspecies of orcs. I lost the plot a little bit in COVID with orcs. I just kept buying unfinished orcs off the internet and then just building them and kit bashing them and making them more and more absurd. And then I started buying kits of cars, chopping them up and doing weird hybrid Mad Max style cars with orcs in. No rules, just keep taking them apart and building them. and I really enjoy that side. I enjoy, I think, the building of scenery, particularly. I've always been a bit of a scenery model railway fan. I've never owned a model railway. I would like to point that out. But I like the...
Yet.
Yeah, there's always time.
Yeah.
But I like the nerding out on the building and the way that buildings work. I think that kind of like feels right to me. So I quite like building scenery and vehicles and orcs. I'm not a massive fan. Like this army I'm painting now, I'm mainly painting it for my son, who is 10, turning 11 soon. So he's kind of at that age where, he's suddenly discovered Warhammer and wants to get into it. So I'm kind of painting it for him. I'm not a big fan of painting everything in the colour scheme. Like I'm really struggling to stick to the colour scheme, painting all the Tyranids the same and not just going like, well, this one's going to be purple because I want to paint purple today. That I'm finding really difficult. But it's fun. And we've got, because we've got adult money now, we've bought into a game called Space Gits, which is a Kickstarter by Michael Hutchinson. It's a really lovely, fast-paced, dice-based game, but with orc models, which is why we bought it. But they come with some beautiful models, so I'm really looking forward to that. It comes out in late October. Quick tabletop game. The rule book is a single sheet, and then you just throw dice. You literally throw the dice at the models, and then you have to stack them up next to models. But it's like a hybrid tabletop kinetic game. It's great fun. So I'm looking forward to having all of those orcs to paint because I really enjoy painting orcs. And then other than that, I've done a fair bit of Dungeons and Dragons painting because I belong to two different groups. I've got a work group, so some sort of work colleagues, and then I've got some friends who live about 200 miles away. And we started playing in 2019. I think we finished in 2023, just one long campaign. We played 2 hours a week, sometimes 4 hours, online mainly. But that was, but I was 3D printing their models and painting them, painting scenery and stuff to go along with it. I'm a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons as well. I think that's kind of like, which is weird because it's fantasy, and I don't like fantasy as a genre. But I really like playing Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's the storytelling that gets me in.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So it's funny you say about the model railway, because I've said to you so many times, haven't I? I've said to Darren so many times that railways and trains don't interest me, but I love the idea of building the scenery, the board, the villages, the tree, doing the landscape. That interests me more. Don't care what train's going around, if there's even a track on there. I just like the idea of building the board. Yeah. Like, that'll do for a bit now. So that kind of, I get that part of it. I understand that.
Yeah, it's sort of anything in miniature.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I do like the building scenery. I like building like post-apocalyptic scenery. I like buying the nerdy grasses and dry brushing things and breaking foam up or corks get different effects. I don't know. I've just always enjoyed doing that. I think it's because I did it because we used to build Warhammer sort of scenery as kids. We used to sort of like buy polystyrene and pour glue on it to dissolve it and make it look melted, cardboard stuff. And it's like the scenery you get now, like would have been phenomenal back then. But back then there really wasn't anything unless you wanted to spend lots of money. Scenery just didn't exist. It was basically model railway stuff that you had to adapt. Which I loved adapting, getting some stuff from the old boy at the model shop and going, he'll be like, oh, are you interested in the OO gauge? No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn half of this building down and then I'm going to put some aliens in it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Stopped asking after a while.
Yeah. Oh, not him again.
It's interesting you say that, though. I remember building our first table and I was so desperate to have a river. I don't know why. Like, we were building a fantasy board. I was just like, I need some hills and I need a river. And so we were like buying all this this stuff that had polystyrene and just stacking it up, carving it out with a standing knife, and then tucking it under the old rolling grass that Games Workshop used to do.
Yeah.
You ever bought that? So getting like sheets of plywood from B&Q and then forcing like my stepdad to try and get it in the car was very fun. And then just trying to figure out like, well, how do you make a river? What is this magic? How do you make it look wet? And just sort of pouring layers and layers of varnish onto this table until it looked like we had a river. I was really, really pleased.
You're doing that now with your board building.
Yeah, I've got a board. No, it has to have a river. So I feel you're
Got to have a river.
Yeah, I've got a river. It's not built in, but my idea is that I've got like it's a 4x4 board, but it's folds, it's hinged in the middle.
Smart.
So it's completely flat. It folds up so you can carry it. But my idea was that the board would be completely flat, obviously with like kind of flock and muddy bits. But then all the scenery that went on it would be sort of not like modular, but so you can have so I've got a 4-foot river that goes through the middle.
It's awesome.
Or on one side, and then kind of bits of forest and things like that. So yeah, that's the plan.
Whether or not it happens.
It will happen. When it happens.
Yeah, when it happens.
I've got a funny question. Who is the brains and who is the brawn?
Oh, well, sure. Morty's a weightlifter. You explain it. I don't understand what he does. It's something to do with lifting heavy objects. That's what it is, isn't it, essentially?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. So my connection broke up. So what I heard was and then you laughing at me.
That's all you get.
That was about right.
Yeah, okay.
I said, who is the brains and who is the brawn?
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. It's probably that way around, isn't it?
And just lastly, who is the better painter?
Oh, me.
Oh, obviously. By a considerable margin.
Yeah, didn't know how much that one would be contested.
Not at all. No, not at all. Not even a small contesting. My painting style is very much like, how quickly can I dry brush this? I might do a colour fade, but if I get bored, I'm going to stop and it'll just end up one colour. And then I'm moving on to the next model, and then it's going to sit on the shelf, and then I'm going to play with it. I'm not one for concentrating for a long period of time, I'm afraid.
Very envious of that.
As I say, that's the kind of mentality I wish I could have. Like, we just dry brush this, get it done, I can use it. But I end up going down a rabbit hole and spending about 10 hours on one model. Yeah, you've got 15 more to do. Well done.
Right. So, on to the topic.
Here we go.
And as we've got some brush experts in front of us, we thought we'd discuss whether you need good brushes to be able to paint Warhammer.
I think need is a contentious word because it depends. It depends on lots of things, doesn't it? It depends on what you're painting it for. It depends what your skill level is, what your budget is, all those kind of accessibility. So I would hate to say, yes, you need really good quality, expensive brushes, and then end up like gatekeeping the hobby because somebody doesn't want to go and invest that money. What I would say though is that you will notice a substantial improvement in your experience, not necessarily in your outcome straight away, but in your experience of painting with higher quality brushes and higher quality tools. In the same way that, if you enjoy cooking and you invest and you get yourself some good knives or you get yourself some good pans, then that inevitably is going to make for a better experience. But need is a word that I probably wouldn't use, if that's okay.
Yeah, very good answer.
Very good answer. Well, that's that then.
So I've got a few points here, and I think from my point of view, having like you say, I think you put it really well. You don't necessarily need good brushes, but from a painter's point of view, I would say they make almost everything easier.
Yeah.
So they might not improve kind of your brush control and things like that, and like you said, it doesn't always translate to results. But when you're talking about certain techniques, I think if you've got a good brush, then that's not the thing that's holding you back.
Yeah,
you've then got the tool that you need to then once you then put in the hours of practice, you can get to that level. Whereas, you might find that someone who's picked up a cheaper set of brushes and they're trying to edge highlight or they're trying to, do a particular technique, that they are holding themselves back in terms of how well they can do that technique and the results that they can get simply because of the brushes that they're using. And like you said earlier, that in terms of the gatekeeping, I suppose partly what you're doing in a way of bringing affordable, high quality brushes
Mhm.
is kind of taking down that gatekeeping and saying, well, actually, if you want to age highlight, you don't need a £17 brush.
Yeah.
But you do need a good. It would help if you had a good brush. You'd be able to just do it that little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly that. Like I remember, you've taken me back to a memory. I was in an art shop many years ago now, and I was just minding my own business, looking at some bits, and this guy came in and spoke to the owner, and he's like, "Oh, I really need a brush for painting trees." And I thought that's an interesting problem, and the guy goes to him, "Oh, sable brush. You need a sable brush." I thought, hang on a minute, you're killing this man, telling him that you need this sable brush to paint a tree. So I think what your overall point is absolutely right, that it will make everything so much easier for you. And when you've got something like a sable hair, you've then got that lovely feedback that you get from the brush. So this might sound really weird and be idiosyncratic to me, but when I'm painting, I'll typically have a glove on with the hand on the hand that I'm holding the miniature. And then I won't have a glove on the hand that I'm then holding the brush in, because I do find that if I've got two gloves, that I don't necessarily get that same level of like feedback from the brush I'm used to and that I need. That might be very like specific to me, which I totally get.
No, I do this exactly the same. I have a glove on this hand to like wick off the excess water a lot of the time. But yeah, I don't wear one on my right hand. So yeah, I can relate to that.
And then, like you were saying, certain techniques. So when you come to things like glazing, when you start using like a sable for the first time and you experience a brush that's got a fine point on it, but also it's got a good belly, so it will hold lots of paint, but that paint goes exactly where you want it to go. That is a game changer. At least it certainly was for me. And what you were saying about the price point, yeah, what we very much want to be is that transition step for people and painters. So you've got into the hobby, you've probably bought GW brushes, and you're starting to think, oh, is there anything else that I could look for? Or can I take that step into sable? And we want to exist as that experience, where people we're taking that next step into taking their painting to that next stage and that next level.
Yeah, I think it's a really good place to be.
So I've got a bit of a question with regard. It's like for the podcast and a personal. I don't really know why, so I'm kind of asking, picking your brain a bit. Why is Kolinsky Sable seen as the best hair for like nicer brushes? Is there a reason for that, or is it? I don't really know why it's always kind of the one that people go for when they make a nice brush.
Yeah, so it's we'll nerd out on brushes now. So it dates back to the idea that, well, firstly, sable hair is incredibly soft. It's incredibly absorbent, but it's also very resilient. And so when you take your nice brush and you kind of run your finger over the hairs, you'll feel that nice snap. So it's very springy, very absorbent, and very lightweight and very soft. And so it gives all the qualities that you want for a good brush. And so one of the things that was used for was for the history of Winsor & Newton Series 7s. So they were produced specifically for one of the royals. I'm not going to say who I think it is, just because I think I'm wrong and I don't want to misquote or give anybody wrong information. But essentially, they wanted to produce the very best brush for this royal, and that's what they found, and that's what they did. And then since then, that's what the staple has been.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
didn't know that.
There
you go. Yeah, so you do every day.
Royal brushes.
Yeah.
To be fair, one of the other questions was what makes a good brush, and I think you kind of answered it. You've covered that pretty well. But in terms of like you just said, is it having a good belly, having a good point? Is that the kind of fundamentals of what you would look for and holding its point, I suppose?
Yeah, exactly that. So you need something that's going to be resilient enough so that it will you can apply pressure to it and it snap back and still be springy and hold its shape and hold the paint, because the last thing that you want is to have that big belly on the brush and then press slightly too hard and then it just open and puddle all over the model. So
Yeah.
you know, that's where the fine tuning of it comes in.
Yeah. You've actually shared something relatively recently on brush care, but I've got a question, which is that why should you look after your brushes?
Well, as my dad would say to me, take care of your tools and your tools will take care of you. Yeah, primarily they're expensive, right? Even ours. And you don't want to invest all that money, not take care of it, and then it be broken. And then that ruins not just your experience of using that particular tool, but in that tool generally. So if somebody's rushed out and bought some sables and they're like, I'm gonna edge highlight, but doesn't take care of the brush. So for instance, they're dipping the brush in the paint all the way up to the ferrule, getting that all gooey and caked in paint, and then leaving that to dry on the side, for example. They come back and go, oh, these Kalinsky sables, these are no good. They're ruined. They're broken.
Yeah.
Or they don't have that resilience. But yeah, I think if you take care of them, take care of your tools, they'll take care of you.
Yeah. And I remember I was talking to you about brush soap.
Yeah.
On Skull, and you shared a very good insight, I thought, that you don't necessarily need a brush soap.
No, not necessarily. Like when I was at art school, one of my tutors was just said to me, like, why don't you just use shampoo and treat it like your own hair? Like if you got paint in your hair, you wouldn't necessarily, use something else. You'd probably just use shampoo and that would be fine. And it's designed and made for hair. So that's what I've always used since then, and it's served me well. I always condition the brushes as well to make sure that they remain soft and absorbent and that they hold their shape. So yeah, I think that part on the topic of brush care, I think that some people get overly worried about how frequently they need to clean their brushes. So what I would say is that, and in the video that we recently made was, don't start using like isopropyl alcohols and all that sort of stuff on them like every single week. You want to leave the deep cleans for quite a while. So for me, for example, I'll like deep clean my brushes maybe like once every 3 months, because even when you are, even though you're cleaning them, it is still taxing on it. And if you overtax it, then that's how you end up damaging them. So after a painting session, I'll just give them a wash in some water and let them dry on their side. And then when they start to get a little bit of build up on them, a bit of shampoo and conditioner, and that usually sees them through in for quite a while until that sort of 3-month mark. Obviously, that's dependent upon how frequently you paint, what you're painting, what paints you're using, what kind of consistencies you're using, all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, I paint pretty much every weekend, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and in terms of you said about leaving them on their side, is that what you'd usually do? You don't recommend storing them upside down, or obviously not bottom down. That's a no-no. But on its side.
Yeah, that's what I do. It's never been a problem for me. So I'll just wash it in some clean water and then just lay it flat like that on my desk. And just leave it to dry, and then usually when I come back in the morning, it's still holding its point really nicely and it's ready to go. Of course, whatever you do, don't let it dry like that, because then what will happen is that the residual moisture will work its way down into the ferrule, and then it will cause the brushes to the hairs to flower. And then there's a little bit that you can do to try and bring it back, but for the most part, once it's sort of flowered on you, there's not really a great deal that you can do.
Yeah. So literally like a bit of herbal essences in a pot and conditioner, and then just.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like volumizing or anything like that.
Damaged hair.
Yeah, just if it helps, I use Tresemme this weekend because that's what my wife buys. So that's what we use, and just put a little blob of it onto my glove. Just work it into the bristles. Just gently massage it into the bristles. Give it a rinse in some water, and then give it a nice condition so that it stays soft and moisturizes the hairs. They don't dry out, and then you're good to go.
There you go.
Other brands are available.
Yeah.
all the hair behind the brush cleaner. Oh, just chuck a bit of Head and Shoulders on them. Other brands are available.
Yeah, well, this is it. Like, so we started getting a couple of messages where people were saying, "Oh, well, does it?" It's all tongue in cheek, of course, but they're saying, "Oh, does Head and Shoulders help to prevent the paint flakes and all that sort of stuff?" Yeah, you can use any shampoo you want, guys. Whatever you want to do.
That's a great tip. It makes sense though when you think about it. It's hair. Why would you not use? It's a great idea.
Yeah. So
and all lots of things.
And then our last question was why use orange brushes, but I think you've kind of covered that in terms of, like you said, where you actually want to be for some like a painter's journey, which is you've gone into the hobby, you've used your starter brushes, you've got your main techniques down, you want to step up. That's kind of get an orange brush.
Yeah, that's where we want to exist, and we want to make sure also that when you buy your tools, that you're not afraid to use them. So
yes,
take care of them, but don't worry about using. We don't want you to worry about using them with metallics if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
such a good point, because like we've done it so many times, haven't we? We've gone and bought.
I think I've got brushes.
Whether we buy, you spend a lot of money on them. Yeah, I'm going to save that brush. I'm not going to touch it. That's going to be for a special project. And when that project comes around, I don't really want to touch it. You end up just going back to your old workhorses that you've already used, and they just sits on the side. And it's such a good point.
The thing as well is where they're expensive. If you buy a set of them, they might be 75, 80 quid. Now that's the sort of thing that you're going to maybe ask for a birthday or a Christmas present, and then you definitely don't want to mess them up.
Yep. Because somebody else has got them.
I've got those for Christmas. I don't want to.
Yeah. How are your brushes going? I wrecked them.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's good.
I destroyed the box that they came in. Yeah. I had that exact thing. My mum bought me a set of very, very expensive slim black brushes in a nice case for a birthday, and that was 7 years ago, and I still have them in the case unused. Not because I started a brush company, but because I was like, they're too precious for that model. They're too precious. Yeah. And the way I work's quite, I'm quite abusive to the brushes. Let's put it that way. So I just went through Amazon synthetics, just use them once, chuck them in the bin, use them once, chuck them in the bin, until we started orange brushes, and then I switched to using those. It's very useful having a brush company and having all the stock in your house. Then you don't need them when you're the brushes out. You could almost throw them away. But I don't.
That's all the rare. That's all the original set.
I'm still on my original set of 5, and they've done a huge amount of models. They like, we've got lots of artists who use our brushes, like serious artists who have, annoyingly, from a business point of view, never reordered. But the reason they've never reordered is because the brushes don't need replacing. One of the things that we're very proud of is the sheer durability of the brush. Is just phenomenal. Even the dry brushes last longer than some other brands. And again, I abuse the dry brushes like crazy. Absolutely abuse them. Don't wash them properly. Let them dry out. Go back to them, and they just keep coming back. And I think that's credit to the way that they're particularly manufactured. Those ones being goat's hair, and they are phenomenal. We also, a lot of brands sell a wide range of brushes, don't they? So you get dry brushes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very early on, Morty and I were like, we're not doing that. That's mental. You don't need that many types. You can have 3, and you'll be lucky to have 3 because you probably only need 2. So we kind of like we're kind of forcing the hand of the buyer. Like, actually, you don't need to spend all this money. Go and spend your money on models because they're more money. Go and spend your money on paints. You need 3 dry brushes. You need a very small, a medium, and a massive one. And then that's it. Leave it alone. You don't need a set of 10. That's madness. And again, the same with the brushes. The sable hairs. A lot of people have asked us for the very, very small ones. It's like, well, I don't think you need the very, very small ones because it's actually easier to paint with a bigger brush, a 2 or a 3. A lot of people paint with a 2 or a 3, or a 1, 2 or a 3 because they hold more paint, so you can get more done at once. You don't really need that small one. So we're kind of like we're forcing the hobby's hand. Like, actually, no, we're not going to sell you that because you don't need it. That's something we've done very early on. We have folded recently, though. We have a wash brush coming out at the end of this month, beginning of July, which is a large synthetic, because a lot of people don't want to use a sable in a contrast. I mean, Morty and I will abuse them and chuck them in contrast, metallics, shade paints, whatever you like. We'll chuck them in there; it'll be fine. But a lot of people don't have that confidence, so we've brought a relatively low price synthetic, which will do the job and be super durable in those sorts of maybe more aggressive paints like heavy metallics and contrasts.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because of that, I've done it before. I've used one, and you think, oh, I shouldn't have used that for the. You're in your paint session. You don't think you just got your sable brush out.
Yeah.
Dip a bit, a bit of shade on there, or a bit of contrast. And then after you think, oh god, I shouldn't have done that. I think, oh dear. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea. Do you guys have a particular favourite size? Your go-to size, your workhorse?
I think for me, it's probably the one. Like the red really does it for me. It just kind of gives me everything that I need. And I use that one the most. Yeah, I think for me it's the one. It's the red.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. The red and maybe the blue. If it's a bigger model, I'll switch to the blue. I'm not going for ultra fine detail, so I'll use the blue. I mean, you can get very good detail with a number 2, but the blue or the red predominantly, I think, are the ones that get used. I do switch down to the smaller, the green and the yellow for very, very small things. And I use my purple for shade and contrast paints on like D&D figures that I just need to speed paint. So that gets submerged beyond the ferrule into the paint. Whip straight on, no washing it, just whack it straight on there. Loves it. Yeah, loves the abuse. And then it gets washed after every session. It's almost like a roller.
Someone's going to report you.
Yeah, they are. Paintbrush abuse.
No, it's a blue for me.
Yeah?
Blue. Yeah, normally my go-to is a blue, but then, blue and red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's
covered.
Do you need good brushes? No, but they help a lot.
Yeah. And these ones are affordable but not cheap.
There you go.
Exactly. There we go. Okay, so Vicky's first favourite bit of the show.
Yeah, I haven't heard this in a while.
No, you haven't actually.
Why don't you just get an actual theme tune done?
Because it annoys you. Time for Sprue or False.
Oh, cringe.
Right, we say a statement and you're going to tell us whether you think it's Sprue or false.
Okay.
You need a small brush to paint small details.
False.
Sprue or false?
False. You just need a fine point.
Yeah.
That's why I use it too. So if you've got a good one, the point's good enough to do any small details with. One or two. If you don't. What did you do when you started the hobby, Darren? I can tell you off all the time about it.
Well, I think that's an interesting thing, which is I think a lot of people, certainly beginners, would assume that the smaller the brush, not the better that you are at painting, but the easier it is to paint details, and that it's having been in the hobby properly for a little while, it couldn't be anything further from the truth.
So what was your go-to brush size at the beginning?
00.
A 00 for everything.
Yeah.
Everything. It could be a dragon or it could be a tiny 00.
It took me about 3 months of
Darren, please stop it. Use a size 1 at least. Go to 1 and go from there. No, 00. But you've seen the error of your ways.
Oh, massively. Yeah. I've got a 000.
It's almost like you'd be a game. You'd see how small a brush you can find.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I've got a 10-0 from a local hobby shop.
10-0
on the hair. But as soon as you get the paint on it, by the time you get it to the model, it's dry.
Yeah, and then you end up with like this weird clump at the end, and you're just sort of poking this model in the face with this clump of paint, hoping something will happen.
Trying to get
Honestly, I'll get the eyes done with this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, obviously, you've got loads. It's like painting, decorating, isn't it? Like, you'll get more brush marks and things like that because it's you're using the brush more.
A bit of a divergence.
So I think that's a solid unanimous false.
False all day. That was false.
Yeah. So that time again. Paint grey. eBay.
Right, let's get this out of the way, shall we? Because I'm going to absolutely butcher these. So Darren's chosen 3 of the new Cathay models from the old world for Warhammer. So we've got Shigengun, is that right? Shigengun, Lord on Great Spirit Longma, whatever that is. A Cathayan Sentinel, and Mao. How did we say it before? Meow Yang.
Mao Ying.
Mao Ying, the Storm Dragon.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. It's your first take. Don't cut that. Did that perfectly. So I'll hand over to you guys. You can take it in turns of which one would you paint, keep but leave grey, and then chuck on eBay.
Straight on eBay.
So I would paint Shigengen. I think that is a gorgeous model, and whoever over at Heavy Metal has painted the box art one has done a phenomenal job, because that is beautiful. I would then probably leave grey. I'd probably leave the Cathay and Sentinel, I think. And then I'd probably, I'm really sorry, Mal, but I think you're going on eBay.
That is controversial.
So you're wrong, but we'll
I'd swap it round. I'd go. I'd fully paint the Sentinel, grey the unpronounceable one beginning with S, and then the dragons going on eBay, because I'm not a big. Not a big fan of dragons. Painting them or looking at them otherwise. I'm afraid. Sorry.
Dragons.
This is not. Yeah, this absolutely is not good for me. I can't pronounce the name. You're all wrong. Go on then, Darren.
I would paint Shigengen.
Good.
Because it's stunning.
It's stunning. That is.
I'm a big fan of kind of like Lumineth High Elves. It kind of gives me those kind of vibes. And like you say, the way it's been painted, that sort of colour scheme, actually that kind of colour scheme gives me Idoneth vibes. But yeah, it looks really, really nice. The model's great. I would leave grey Mao Ying, because I think it's stunning. And we won't all let you down.
No.
And to be fair, I like all of them.
They are all gorgeous.
The Cathay Sentinel. Don't know. It's just a bit the fact that it's, for me, from like a painter's point of view, the fact that it's.
You could get that done in 2 hours. You could.
That
dry brush it
doesn't interest me about
it.
Yeah,
you can. Great, bring that down on the shelf. Lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be going on eBay, unfortunately.
Yeah. See, now you probably know which one I would paint, but I would paint Mao Ying Storm Dragon, just because, unlike Webb, I love dragons, and to be fair, it's probably the colour scheme they've chosen, but it's given me serious Dark Elf vibe. My favourite around the fantasy art. So I love that model. That said, Shigengun, whatever it's called, that is gorgeous. That is stunning. I'd want to keep that model just for the sake of how nice it is. And one day I might paint it, but that would be left grey. And the Cathayan Sentinel, for the reasons you said, would be on eBay. Again, all brilliant models, but yeah.
So the thing is, we should all be painting that one.
Yeah,
take Webb's advice. Oh yeah, actually get something painted.
Yeah, definitely. Webb is right, but he's also completely wrong, because we should be painting the Storm Dragon. Well, yeah, there we go.
There we go. Let's paint grey eBay. Right, guys. Well, that is it for another episode.
Done.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much to Webb and Morty, aka Orange Brushes.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you've been very informative.
Actually, learned a bit tonight.
Yeah, learned a lot. To be fair. Yeah, an educational episode.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, any what are you working on? What's coming up for you guys?
Yeah. Well, firstly, thanks so much for having us. It's a real pleasure. It's been great talking to you both. So the big news for us, well, we've got 2 big pieces of news. As of Monday, so tonight is Sunday. So as of Monday, we will officially be able to ship to Europe, which is very, very exciting.
Nice.
So our European friends can now start making orders through the website. It'll all be adjusted for the respective currency. And we'll actually be able to ship and export, which is really exciting. So to coincide with that, we're also looking for some sponsored artists. So we've put out a message on our Instagram, and our current sponsored artists have shared that as well. So if you're an artist in Europe and interested in being a brand sponsor, then do get in touch, and we'd love to speak to you.
Yeah, that's cool. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I mean, there are some stunning artists in Europe, so I'm sure you'll be able to get some good artists, especially in sort of Spain. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Everyone
Spanish
seems
boys
to come from
they're
Spain.
good, aren't they?
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and some funny stories as well. Yeah, we've got a few bits coming up.
Just I'd like to paint something.
Yeah, we'll be painting
something now
in the next.
I don't know what, but I'll paint something. That dragon. I'll just go and buy it.
Do
Just to annoy you three, I'll just get it and paint it. No, I'll buy it and then never paint it.
Yeah,
Webb was right. I should have got the cent.
eBay.
Yeah, eBay it. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, just look out for the wash brush when it lands, and we'll share it on all the socials.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice one.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye, boys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dennis. Bye.